afternoon. Good afternoon. Oh, good evening on the East Coast. Excuse me. Good evening. It is 5 o'clock East Coast time. I am just a humble correspondent, Jordan Sheridan, coming to you live, New York City. It is Wednesday, December 19th, and I must acknowledge something. I should have been doing research for the last 20 minutes to a half hour, but instead I was Googling to see if there is such a thing as a Hanukkah Harry costume. I've looked far and wide, but I cannot find a Hanukkah Harry costume. I was looking for one because I would like to wear my Hanukkah Harry costume this Sunday for the Sunday Super Chat Marathon. So I believe there is such a thing as a Hanukkah Harry costume, and I'm going to keep looking. So that's an update. Very important update. To all of you watching, this is a super chat. So remember, it is a super chat. And I am playing a little hurt today. I'm playing a little bit hurt as I had an endoscopy this morning. So, you know, an endoscopy, they stick a camera down your throat to find out what's in your stomach. So I'm a little hazy. They give you some strong stuff. Like that Michael Jackson stuff, propofol. So I'm a little groggy. My throat hurts just a little bit. But I could do it. We have a lot of important things to discuss today. And remember, you have a checklist. Sorry to give you homework, but you have a checklist. Like this live stream, even if you dislike me, especially if you dislike me, but hopefully you don't. We have 62 people watching right now and only 28 likes, so I need to see a lot more likes. Like that live stream. I'm going to skip over the second step for now because we're doing some website updates, so we'll tell you to become a member later. Follow us at Status Coup on the Twitter. Subscribe to our podcast. There's the link. And when you subscribe to the podcast, rate us 5 stars. Rate us 5 stars if you can. Podcast is another way we could make money and create revenue so we could build a company here. And of course, every day there's another unethical, corrupt story with Facebook. I guess go like us on Facebook, facebook.com/statusquo. Although we might delete it. We'll see. I'll talk to Jen about that. So, somebody asked what happened to your lip. If you're new here, I went to Belize recently. The one vacation I'll probably ever take again. I don't have a lot of time for vacation, but I forced myself to go on vacation. And I got super, super sunburnt, which led to a sun blister. And I've been picking at the blister, which I shouldn't have been. So now I stopped picking at it, and it's finally started scabbing. So that's a scab. I didn't get in a bar fight or anything like that. So I'm okay, though. But remember, it's a super chat, and I know a lot of people are tapped out. But if you're not tapped out, we're trying to reach. Oy vey, here we go again. Hold on. We're trying to reach 30,000 by the end of this month. So we're at 27,673 between 509 people. I want to reach 30,000 by the end of this month. I think this Sunday we'll raise a lot of money. I'm going to announce a special guest that we're going to have this coming Sunday soon. I think you'll like the guest we're going to have for our Sunday marathon. Wonderful person. So that is coming. So, where do you even begin? So much in the news. And remember, is there a difference between the podcast and the Patreon? We're going to ultimately be doing 2 podcasts a week. Right now, we're only doing 1. But the podcast is for Patreon subscribers as well as our members. So, if you're already a patron, you don't have to do anything. Stay a Patreon subscriber, and you'll get the podcast and other bonus content. And if you're not a Patreon and you become a member, we have 51 members now. You'll get the podcast too. So our podcast right now is for members and patrons. We're going to be doing a free podcast as well. Metro D for Neosporin and more great independent journalism. Metro D, $5. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So, what do I want? What can you start with today? We got more people, more, frankly, lunatics, if you ask me, pushing this nonsense that Bernie Sanders voters and black voters, somehow they were swayed by social media posts of Hillary Clinton as the Antichrist not to vote for Hillary Clinton. But I'm not going to start with that. So, Donald Trump, what can you say? I don't even think he really has an ideology. I just think he's playing to a base that he thinks if he keeps playing to this base, he will win re-election. But he, in rare circumstances, and press that like button, let's get more people liking. The more people that like the live stream, the way the algorithm works, the more people that like the live stream, the more people that will see it. In rare circumstances, he proposes doing a good thing. He just banned bump stocks. Bump stocks are what allow semi-automatic weapons to basically serve as automatic weapons. It was used in the horrific Nevada shooting that killed 58 people last year. So, kudos to him. If he does something good, let's not be ridiculous and not credit him. Kudos to him. He also is about to sign the first step in criminal justice reform. It's not enough, but it's a step in the right direction. I'm not going to talk about that tonight. Ty knows a lot more about that topic, so I'm going to wait for him to report on that. So Trump is 2 for 2 in the last week. But maybe just as important as those two things, and I think the bump stock thing is super important, as is the criminal justice reform. But now he's talking about pulling American troops out of Syria, which would be incredible. Can you answer me why American troops are in Syria right now? Or in Afghanistan? Or in Iraq? I mean, we still do have troops in Iraq. Why do we have troops in Syria? Other than trying to, do what we always do, which is steal natural resources and make sure, geopolitical enemies don't seize control of countries that we want for our own business sense. Danny Knapp, out of Syria would be awesome. Darth Corey, bring them all home. And remember, Trump was a phony on the campaign trail, and he's been a phony as president. But he did run as an isolationist. He said, we need to stop with these stupid wars. I'm America first. I don't think he believed any of it. He's bombed Syria twice. He's kept us in Afghanistan. He's still supplying Saudi Arabia with weapons that they're using to murder innocent Yemenis. But at least he's, it seems, talking the talk as far as getting out of Syria. President Trump has ordered a rapid withdrawal of all 2,000 United States ground troops from Syria within 30 days, declaring the 4-year American-led war against the Islamic State as largely won, officials said Wednesday. We have defeated ISIS in Syria, my only reason for being there during the Trump presidency, Trump tweeted. He offered no details. Shocker. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the White House press secretary, said in a statement that, quote, we have started returning United States troops home as we transition to the next phase of this campaign. But Pentagon officials who had sought to talk the president out of the decision, a.k.a. the neocons, as late as Wednesday morning argued that such a move would betray Kurdish allies who have fought alongside American troops in Syria and who could find themselves under attack in a military offensive now threatened by Turkey. One American official said the Kurdish leaders were informed of the president's decision on Wednesday morning. And there's a map of Syria. Obviously the top right, Kurdish control, tiny left corner, rebel control, and the rest, government control. Quote, at this time, we continue to work by, with, and through our partners in the region, Colonel Rob Manning, a Pentagon spokesperson, said in a short statement. A second official said the withdrawal of troops would be phased out over several weeks and that American-led airstrike campaign against the Islamic State in Syria, which began in 2014, would continue. That official said the military hoped to rely on Kurdish fighters on the ground to help with targeting. Officials discussed the emergency policy on the condition of anonymity before any announcement from the White House. Emerging from a Senate conference lunch with Vice President Mike Pence and other Republican senators, Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina attacked the decision. Of course he did. Quote, a lot of us were blindsided. He's talking about the neocons who love war, any war. They want more war. Likening the withdrawal to Iraq all over again, a reference to the Obama administration's decision to end the military mission in Iraq in 2011. The departure of American troops there allowed the deadly strengthening and spread of the Islamic State. Quote, if Obama had done this, all of us would be furious, Lindsey Graham said. If Obama had done this, we'd be going nuts right now. How weak. How dangerous. He said he wanted Congress to hold hearings about the consequences of this decision and asked why lawmakers were not notified. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. They've gotten the neocons angry. And, you know, let's keep it real. I'm not a big fan of President Trump at all. I think he's a bigot. I think he's corrupt. I think he has no ideology. I think he has no moral compass. He's George Bush and Ronald Reagan on steroids when it comes to the economy. Tax cuts for the rich, tax cuts for corporations, tax cuts for more yachts. But he's right. And when he's right, we got to say he's right. And I don't actually think he's doing this for pure reasons. He's probably doing this for his base. Because his base, honestly, doesn't want us in Syria and Afghanistan and all these places. And he said this on the campaign trail. But the thing that people like Lindsey Graham don't understand, ISIS wasn't created because we left Iraq. ISIS was created because we went to Iraq in the first place. You fucking idiot. Oh, there goes my monetization. Every time I curse, I lose monetization, so make up for it for me in the super chat. You know, Al-Qaeda was created because the Soviet Union and America invaded Afghanistan. That's what created Afghanistan. That's what created Al-Qaeda. Like, these war hawks and these neocons, they don't even understand geopolitics. They don't understand what actually creates terrorism. And I'm not defending Al-Qaeda, of course, and I'm not defending ISIS. There's really no excuse for terrorism. I could understand why ISIS, why Al-Qaeda hates America. Lindsey Graham and his ilk, including in CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, who think America is like super duper duper awesome. America is a shining city on a hill as we help Saudi Arabia commit genocide in Yemen. So, thank you, XALXR Lazum, $2 in the super chat. Like, it's unbelievable. Does Lindsey Graham and these people think that, you know, what do they want? Do they want us to stay in Syria forever? Do they want us to stay in Afghanistan forever? It's unbelievable. Here's a thought. Is it possible? Baby Gerald says ISIS exists because we destroyed Iraq. I agree. Again, I'm not here to defend ISIS, obviously. I'm not defending terrorists. But you cannot defeat an idea. This is the stupidity of the war on terror. Thank you, Kelly Elaine, $5 in the super chat. Says speak your mind. This is the stupidity of the war on terror. You don't defeat an idea. And what is that idea? That America is an imperialist nation that is invading our countries, stealing our land, stealing our natural resources, killing our brothers, our sisters, our fathers, our mothers, all under the flag of spreading democracy. That is the idea behind Al-Qaeda and ISIS. And you know what? Although I don't agree with their methods, they are right on America's role. They didn't just wake up one day and hate America and want to blow themselves up or chop heads off. So, you know, the United States military and the deep state, because there is a deep state, their brilliant idea is not to, you know, pull out. And I know I'm going to get some jokes, but not to pull out, because what is it accomplishing? Okay, you're going to stay there and stop the spread of ISIS? And by the way, Trump's wrong. I mean, Trump with this nonsense that we've defeated ISIS. We haven't defeated ISIS. Because it's like, I've never watched The Walking Dead, but it's like zombies. You kill them and more are created. You defeat ISIS, another ISIS comes up. Because you're not going to defeat the idea of hating America, because you keep doing things that make them hate America. If you want to know what would be a very powerful thing, and it will never happen, if the United States removed 75% of its bases from around the world. I think we have 150 around the world. If we removed our bases, meaning stop occupying countries, and we got the hell out of these wars, you know what would happen? In large part, these countries would leave us alone. But we're not going to do that. You want to know why? Because it's not about the urgent threat to America. It's not about, if we pull out, there will be an urgent. Jen, could you get me the number? How many bases do we have around the world? It's not about an urgent threat to America. It's about being the world's superpower and the world's policeman, stealing minerals and oil from other countries. Watch Oliver Stone's Untold History of the United States. It's an amazing documentary. You can watch it on Netflix. It explains why we've gone to every war, and pretty much every war has been about oil, stealing it, inserting dictators and terrorists, by the way. The United States has inserted terrorists into other countries that align with our business interests. Prince Mohammed bin Salman, ring a bell? So, honestly, and keep on pressing the like button. You see, the more people that press the like button, the more the audience goes up. We're at 140 now. We only have 69 likes. So, we got 70 more likes to go. I'm looking at you, those of you who haven't pressed the like button. Jen, the United States has approximately 800 formal military bases in 80 countries. The nation. It's unbelievable. It's very rare that you hear some sense on a cable news show, but I want to play you this clip from Jeffrey Sachs on Morning Joe. It's very rare that you hear some sense on a cable news.
But I think we have to step back and not put this in partisan terms. This is a U.S. mistake that started 7 years ago. And I remember the day on your show when President Obama said, Assad must go. And I looked at you and Joe and I said, how's he going to do that? Where's the policy for that?
Right.
And we know they sent in the CIA to overthrow Assad. The CIA and Saudi Arabia together in covert operations tried to overthrow Assad. It was a disaster. Eventually it brought in both ISIS as a splinter group to the jihadists that went in. It also brought in Russia. So we have been digging deeper and deeper and deeper. What we should do now is get out and not continue to throw missiles, not have a confrontation with Russia. 7 years has been a disaster under Obama, continuing under Trump. This is what I would call the permanent state. This is the CIA, this is Pentagon, wanting to keep Iran and Russia out of Syria, but no way to do that. And so we have made a proxy war in Syria. It's killed 500,000 people, displaced 10 million, and I'll say predictably so, because I predicted it 7 years ago that there was no way to do this and that it would make a complete chaos. So what I would plead to President Trump is get out. Like his instinct told him, by the way. Before, yeah. That was his instinct. Yeah. But then all the establishment, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Pentagon, everybody said, no, that's irresponsible. But his instinct is right. Get out. We've done enough damage, 7 years. And now we really risk a confrontation with Russia that is extreme.
Get out! Get out! Get out! Jesus, I'm surprised MSNBC didn't cut him off. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable why this isn't seen more in mainstream media. Because I can't think of any reason. If all we did, if we put on some people more like Jeffrey Sachs or Jeremy Scahill or Kyle Kulinski or myself, nobody could give a reason why we were even in Syria. And by the way, just like what happened in Iraq, where we invaded Iraq and ISIS was created, does anyone not believe the longer the United States stays in Syria? I mean, there's estimates that 600,000 people have been killed during the Syrian civil war. 600,000 people. You don't think that there's a ISIS-like group that hates America that's going to come out of Syria through the rubble? Whether we stay or whether we go? Same thing could be said for Yemen. You don't think that there's people right now who have lost their kids or their family in Yemen because of bombs manufactured in the U.S. that are being dropped by Saudi Arabia, and they're being assisted by the United States to drop those bombs? You cannot, I said this at the Young Turks, you cannot defeat an idea, but you can change your own behavior. But we're not going to do that because, again, if you watch Oliver Stone's Untold History of the United States, I'm not getting any money to plug it. I just think it's an amazing documentary series that taught me a lot. You will find out that we're a permanent war economy. We don't go to war because of urgent threat against the United States. We never have. The closest war we went to was in Afghanistan, retribution for 9/11, and frankly, should have been out long time ago. Osama bin Laden has been dead now for 8 years. Al-Qaeda is not in Afghanistan exclusively. And by the way, the United States, some of those Syrian rebels are Al-Qaeda that the United States is working with. Comrade, you could murder the rebel, you can't murder the rebellion. I agree. I mean, look at this. What's going on here? Hold on. Oh, why does nothing work? Here we go. Syrian Observatory says war has killed more than 500,000. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, a British-based war monitor, said on Monday about 511,000 people have been killed in the Syrian war since it began 7 years ago. The observatory, which tracks death tolls using a network of contacts inside Syria, said it had identified more than 350,000 of those killed, and the remainder were cases where it knew deaths had occurred but did not know the victims' names. And by the way, in all this hysteria that we hear about Russia nonstop, the truth is, maybe the neocons don't want to get out of Syria because Syria is Russia's greatest ally. And there's this irrational fear of Russia, like we had in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and the Cold War. That if we give Russia an inch, they're going to take the whole farm. Oh my God, I can't take any more of this. 2,000 troops are in Syria. For what reason? Thousands more in Afghanistan. For what reason? I mean, you're never going to get Trump to admit that tax cuts for the rich are just because he's a rich guy who cares about the rich. You're not going to get him. You're not going to convince them, a president like Trump, to push economic policy for us. That's not going to happen. He needs to be taken out of office, I think, by beating him in an election. Because I think if you try to impeach him, Mike Pence is a lot worse than Donald Trump. Any intelligent people that aren't deranged in the head with Trump derangement syndrome? No. Mike Pence would be much, much worse for this country than Donald Trump. You're not going to hear things like this from Mike Pence pulling troops out of Syria. Sharon just said it. Someone has to guard the poppy fields. That's another reason we're Afghanistan, to steal their poppy and opium. Baby Gerald, Afghanistan is about rare earth minerals and opium. Bonnie Flournoy, the U.S. thrives in their insane minds on having an enemy. So I say, get the fuck out of Syria as fast as you can, and I will be the first one to applaud President Trump if he does so. I still want to beat him in 2020. I'm not a fan, but if he does that, he would be the first president to be getting us out of a war in a long time. I mean, you could say Obama got us out of Iraq, yes, but he left troops there. Cheryl Simpson, what happens if Iran takes control, though? If Iran takes control, what happens? Do you think Bashar al-Assad is just going to hand over his country to Iran? I mean, that's what I don't understand. And by the way, this fear-mongering about Iran also, Iran was actually following the nuclear deal. Iran was actually following the terms of the nuclear deal. Every expert said so. This lunacy from Trump that they're breaking the terms of the nuclear deal. No, they weren't. There was no objective expert that wasn't a Trump official. Nuclear experts, Iranian experts, all said Iran has followed the terms of the nuclear deal. So, Iran's economy has been crushed by American sanctions. Crushed. They're not led by Mohammed Ahmadinejad, who, strangely enough, was tweeting that he wanted to be a guest on Chapo Trap House, which I thought was funny. Squirrel Lips, $1.99 in the super chat. Oh, but Bibi Netanyahu's PowerPoint said Iran would take over. Well, that's what Israel always says. And, it's hard for me to criticize Israel, because if my father's watching, he'll call me and he'll be very angry. If you don't know, my father might as well be the prime minister of Israel. I mean, I love my father, but this is something we just don't agree on and we don't talk about. I don't feel like fighting my father all the time. But my father, he's a Zionist and thinks Israel could do no wrong. So I say to Trump, if you get us out of Syria, by the way, if Trump gets us out of Syria, I mean, that's going to give him a lot of points for 2020, because there's a lot of progressives that want us out of these wars. And if they run another neoliberal hack like Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump gets us out of Syria, Burnman23, you can't be a lefty if you support Israel. It's just one of those non-debatable issues. I don't agree with that. I think you could believe in the idea of Israel, but not believe in what they're doing. And also believe that the Palestinians should have their land. So I think you could believe in Israel and its concept, but not agree with Israel on the inhumane treatment of Palestinians. And I think that Palestinians should have their own country. So you could do both. So before moving on to the next topic, I have an exciting announcement to make for all 164 of you watching. And we only have 101 likes. So that's about 60-something people that haven't pressed that like button. I'm not making my announcement until we get more likes. And I have a big announcement. We have a fun, great guest who's joining me on Sunday for the Sunday Super Chat Marathon. Bonnie says, nah, Jordan. Sorry, Jordan's dad. I'll tell him. Hey, I love my father. What can I tell you? So, obviously, we're making these Sunday marathons as big as we can. We're trying to raise money. We're trying to get to 60,000. 60,000. See? I was under the knife this morning. Not under the knife, but they gave me anesthesia for my endoscopy, so I'm a little blurry. We're at 27,673 right now. Would like to get that up to 30,000 by the end of this month. We're hoping that this Sunday we get a lot of viewers, because this Sunday I will be joined by the one and only Jimmy Dore. I'm excited. Jimmy, he's not going to be with me for, 10 hours, but we recorded an interview yesterday. It was totally off the rails. If you think Jimmy's off the rails on his show, wait till you see him on Sunday. Lancer Soloris says, your stream was so good, I spent 6.5 hours watching it. A record. Hey, I was there for 8 hours, but thanks for joining me for 6.5. By the way, I'm just telling you right now, I'm not doing 8 hours this Sunday. I need a break. Endo says, don't toss him softballs. What do you want me to give him the Spanish Inquisition? So Jimmy will be on. I don't know what time yet. I mean, I'm coming on live at noon. I might go to it. Maybe I'll go live for like a half hour to an hour and then toss to that interview. But we talked for about a half hour, and it was very, very insightful. We talked about Russia. We talked about the media. Talked about 2020. We talked about Bernie. So, hey, start sending that money in now. GoFundMe.com/status-coup-news. Going to be wonderful. Trying to land some other guests too, but Jimmy will be our featured guest this Sunday. So put it in your calendar, because YouTube's not going to notify you. YouTube will not notify you. Noon Eastern time, I'll be live, and Jimmy will be joining me. Not live, but we have a recorded interview. So, Baby Gerald, Jimmy is one of the most upright critics of your screwed up system. Checked his channel out the other day. I agree. Loved him. You guys kind of look like father and son. Hey, I wouldn't mind being Jimmy's son. How old is Jimmy? Is he old enough to be my... Is he old enough? I mean, the GoFundMe link's there, folks. We're not putting it in there for our health. Even $5, $10, $20. Jordan, would you ever have Lee Camp, John F. O'Donnell, or Ron Placone on? That would be awesome. Yeah, sure. I don't know who John F. O'Donnell is. But if he's not a douchebag, I'd have him on. Or even if he is a douchebag. Oh, and I just did an interview, by the way. I just did an interview where I was the guest on the American Vagabond. Is that the name, Jen? The Last American Vagabond? I just did an interview on his show. I recorded it yesterday. So I think he's putting it up on his channel today or tomorrow. So go to the Last American Vagabond. I like his work. Subscribe to his channel, and you'll be able to watch me. We talked for a long time about Jen and my Flint bombshell and why the corporate media is essentially useless. John is on Redacted tonight. Oh, okay. Yeah, I would have him on too. This Sunday marathon is going to be a thing for the foreseeable future. So we're a grassroots media startup, so we got to fundraise. So I'm going to try and line up as many guests as I can. And when Ty's done with this documentary, he'll be operating the Sunday live stream, and he'll be able to bring in guests live. For now, we're recording stuff during the week. But yeah, I'd have Ron on, I'd have Lee on, I'd have all those people on. So, and if you guys have suggestions on people you would like me to reach out to interview, email Jordan at protonmail.com. Email Jordan at protonmail.com. And Von Wabbit, I'm not going to say what you said, but I agree with you. I don't like to bash the old employer, but I agree with you. So, you know, it's funny you say that, Maddie, because I sent a direct message on the Twitter to Kyle Kalinske 2 days ago, I think, maybe yesterday, asking him to come on. Haven't heard back yet. So, would love to have Kyle Kalinske on. Big fan. So, you know, I usually don't do stories more than, 2 days in a row. I usually don't do stories more than once. But I've done this Russia story now 2 days in a row because I think it's important. I mean, we're literally in full-on McCarthyite territory with this Russiagate stuff. You know, I've always said I'm all for an investigation. I'm all for an investigation into Trump, his campaign. Let the chips fall where they fall. So far, I don't see anything that matches the original charge of collusion. I don't see anything that matches that charge. You know, they said that Trump campaign worked with the Russian government to, take stolen or hacked emails and distribute them through WikiLeaks. I don't see anything. Oh man, some of your comments or something. So now we have first it's Neera Tanden pushing around. I could tweet this 1,000 times in response to this ridiculous report that said Russia was the reason that many Bernie Sanders supporters and black people chose not to vote for Hillary Clinton. First is Neera Tanden, and you've had, CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times pushing this rubbish. No data to back it up, no nothing to back it up. Just, black people can't think for themselves. It was Russia. Bernie Sanders voters, they can't think for themselves. Russia convinced them. It was those Jesus memes. So now you got Obama's, wizard, David Axelrod. When you consider the narrow margins by which Donald Trump won Michigan and Wisconsin and the poor minority turnout there, these Russian voter suppression efforts may have been decisive. It would be interesting to see how closely they mirrored the Trump campaign's tactics. Oh, God. Ruth says, I'm old enough to remember Joseph McCarthy. I really don't want to go there again. Lives were ruined and people were jailed on rumor. Well, Ruth, unfortunately, I think we're headed to that place. So think about how, inherently racist this tweet is. And I don't know David Axelrod. I'm sure he's not actually racist, but this is racist. So he's basically saying, consider the poor minority turnout there. So this Russian voter suppression efforts. So apparently memes on social media of Hillary as the Antichrist are the equivalent of voter ID laws and closing poll stations in minority communities. Real voter suppression tactics. Apparently trolls and negative Hillary Clinton things on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter are the equivalent of, voter ID, closing down polling stations, purging black people off the voter rolls, which they've done in many, many states. So David Axelrod, benefit of the doubt. I don't think he meant to be racist, but you're basically saying black people don't have brains and Russians convinced them not to vote for Hillary. Mike S., it's the most patronizing shit ever. But I decided to do something radical. Jordan, I think you're beautiful, but that is not your best picture. Which picture? Which picture are you talking about, Joanna? So I decided to do something a little radical. Thanks to Jen. Jen sent me the data. So all these people keep talking about that the Russians hacked Bernie Sanders voters. Adam, I vote Jordan third after Jimmy and Ben. Ben who? I'll take second to Jimmy, but who's Ben? No, I'm just kidding. I don't care. As long as I'm on your list, I don't care. So, all these people keep talking about that Russians, might have swayed the difference in Wisconsin or Michigan and swung the election to Donald Trump. So I decided, let's look at the exit polls. Ben M. Are you talking about Ben Mankiewicz? Oh, God. Austin. Hope that's not who you're talking about. Just got to keep it real. I like him personally, but his politics are quite establishment, if you ask me. So I said, let's look at the exit polls in Michigan. Let's look at the exit polls in Wisconsin. Let's look at the exit polls in Pennsylvania and Ohio. Because that's something called data, It's this foreign concept to David Axelrod, to Neera Tanden, to MSNBC, to the New York Times. They like to put out this propaganda, this McCarthyite nonsense that, it really took those social media memes to really convince those Bernie voters, you know what? Stay home. Stay home. Captain Obvious, please don't mention Ben Monkey Shits. I'm eating over here. I got to tell you what one of my, I know this is irrational, but one of my worries is that as our channel grows, because we're growing, by the way, we just passed 23,000 subscribers. So thank you. We just passed 23,000 subscribers. If you're not a subscriber, go fuck yourself. I don't want you to watch. No, I'm kidding. Subscribe. But one of my fears is as we grow more followers and subscribers that the live chat's going to go too fast where I'm not going to be able to read the comments. I love reading the comments, but it's going faster and faster. It's like my eyes are being screwed with here. Anyway, so I said, let's look at the exit poll because I'd like to see why did these people actually vote for Donald Trump? Why did these people actually vote for Donald Trump? Was it Russia? Was it WikiLeaks and those emails? Was it James Comey? So let's start, if you might, with Ohio. He won a lot by, so I'm not going to bother with Ohio. Let's start with Pennsylvania, okay? Oh, excuse me. No. So Axelrod's tweet was Michigan and Wisconsin, which, by the way, if Hillary Clinton had won Michigan and Wisconsin, she would have still lost the election. If Hillary Clinton won Michigan and Wisconsin, she would have had 258 electoral votes, electoral college votes. Trump would have had 280, so he would have still won if Hillary Clinton won Michigan and Wisconsin. So David Axelrod, he's talking about Russia swung those states, which isn't even, it's ridiculous. But even if she did win those states, it wouldn't have mattered. So this is the exit polls for Michigan. And you're going to begin to see a pattern here. So let's look at most important issue facing the country. And this was Michigan. You see right there? Immigration. 71% of Michiganders thought immigration was their number one issue. Then when you go down, illegal immigrants working in the U.S. should be deported to another country. You're beginning to see a pattern here. 71% in Michigan, top issue. Immigration. Believe that the immigrants should be deported if they're here undocumented. I've always said to you, Trump had them at NAFTA. Effects of international trade. 58% takes away U.S. jobs. So I said, and I've been saying this since the election because I saw it on the campaign trail. You know, don't believe me, who was there and covered these rallies and interviewed hundreds of people. Let's listen to David Axelrod, Neera Tanden, and the rest of the idiots. Let's not listen to actual reporters who interviewed hundreds of people who sat and stood at these rallies and saw their reaction when he said these things on NAFTA, when he said these things on immigration. Let's listen to them. So right there, you got 71%. Immigration, top issue. 80%, deport undocumented. Effects on international trade, takes away U.S. jobs. That 58%, they're talking about NAFTA, folks. That's what that means. So that's Michigan. Now let's look at Wisconsin. You're going to see a pattern. Do you think immigrants to the USA today hurt the country? 78%. 78% think they hurt the country. Most important issue facing the country. 75% of Trump supporters, immigration. 77%. Deport them if they're undocumented. Effects on international trade. 62% takes jobs away from the USA. And this makes sense, by the way, because if you live in Michigan, if you live in Wisconsin, guess what? Guess what? Your jobs were sent to China and Mexico because Bill Clinton signed NAFTA. It's not that complicated why they voted for Donald Trump. Now, you could say, well, that's not fair because Hillary Clinton wasn't the president, it was Bill Clinton. You could say that, but she supported NAFTA when she was first lady. She basically wrote the TPP. She called it the gold standard of trade deals. She was clearly pro-free trade. Because it wasn't her job going to Mexico or China. What do the Clintons care? What does Obama care? They basically let these multinational corporations write these free trade deals. So I just showed you right there the top issues in Michigan and Wisconsin were immigration and trade. So let me ask you, did Russia convince these people that immigration is bad? Did Russia convince these people that their jobs were sent to Mexico or China? Something they saw on Facebook have to convince them that their jobs got sold to Mexico or China? No, I think it was the pink slip they received that convinced them that their job had been sold to China or Mexico. And by the way, I am fiercely against this anti-immigrant fervor because it's not the immigrants stealing their jobs. It's the government that's stealing their jobs. Well, selling their jobs to other countries. Maddie Perry, $1.99 in the super chat. Thank you. And remember, this is a super chat. I know it's the holiday seasons. You might be, buying stuff for your loved ones, but we hope status quo is a loved one at this point. We've had a courtship for a couple months here. We hope you're in love with us at this point because we love you. Get to that GoFundMe, baby. So, this is data. This isn't my opinion. This is data. These are exit polls. Immigration, trade. Okay, so that's Wisconsin. Let's go to Pennsylvania, where she lost by 44,292 votes. This is Pennsylvania. Most important issue facing the country. 78% of Pennsylvanians, immigration. Should undocumented immigrants be deported? 83%, yes. Effects on international trade. 64% takes away U.S. jobs. They're talking about NAFTA. How do I know? Because I've been to Pennsylvania. I've been to Michigan. I've been to Ohio. I've been to Wisconsin. I have seen cities and towns that look like ghost towns. Boarded up storefronts, boarded up factories, boarded up everything because all of their economy was sold. And the United States government sold these people out and sold these states out. Under Bill Clinton it started. It continued under George W. Bush. It continued under Barack Obama. Ohio. Let's look at Ohio. You're going to see a pattern here, folks. Most important issue facing the country. 77% of Trump supporters. Immigration. Undocumented immigrants should be deported. 81%. Effects of immigration on international trade. 69%. Takes away U.S. jobs. I mean, I will say, I think a lot of these Trump supporters, not that they're evil or not that they're awful, all of them, because I met a lot of them and they're not all racist. They're misguided. What they don't understand is that immigration is not what is causing their is not what's causing their factories to close down. Immigration is not what's causing their factories to close down. Immigration is not why they have to work 2 to 3 jobs. Immigration is not why they haven't gotten a pay raise in 20 years. The government is why, because the government allowed their jobs to be sold to other countries. The government has allowed corporations to essentially do whatever the hell they want and basically disregard workers. The United States was not always that way. In the 1950s and 60s, a CEO maybe made like 15 times their worker. Now it's 250 to 300 times their worker. And back in the day, I was just having a conversation with someone about this. Back in the day, CEOs in America, it was a competition. How many jobs have I created? CEOs are proud of the amount of jobs they created. That was the competition. Now it's how much profit for my shareholders have I created at how few of jobs have I created that profit. Because there's a lack of morality in this economy. This economy is not an economy, it's a mafia. But nobody talks about these facts. Nobody talks about data. You know, the corporate media, which is essentially, at this point, they say Fox News is an arm of the Republican Party. Well, is CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times any different at this point? Sure, I don't think they're as racist as Fox News. I don't think they're as fact-free as Fox News. But CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, they're literally just regurgitating the propaganda now of the Democratic Party. That Russia, convinced Bernie Sanders voters. Have any of these ever spoken to a Bernie Sanders voter? Mr. Black, they're all bought off. I agree. Have any of them ever spoken with actual Bernie Sanders voters or black voters? Because I could tell you one thing. The black voters that I spoke with that supported Bernie did so because Hillary Clinton called them super predators and Bill Clinton put their family members in jail with the crime bill. That, by the way, Joe Biden wrote the crime bill. You won't ever hear that talked about on corporate media, but Joe Biden drafted the crime bill. Keep liking this live stream, folks. We're up to almost 200 viewers. The more people that press like to the live stream, the more viewers we get. Bonnie says she hated Hillary from her time as a New York senator. So, at the end of the day, it's very clear why Trump won those states. And I got news for you. He won Michigan by 10,704 votes. So, essentially, David Axelrod and Neera Tanden think that, 10,704 people didn't vote for Hillary Clinton because they saw Russian memes on Twitter? 10,704 people didn't vote for Hillary Clinton because there was posts of Hillary as the Antichrist? This is how out of touch these people are. And they're doing this intentionally. They're pushing this propaganda intentionally. She lost Wisconsin by 22,748 votes. So, almost 23,000 people didn't vote for her because the Russians brainwashed them on Instagram. By the way, how do you even know all these people are even on social media? Von Wabbit, Jordan, do you think the MSM anchors believe what they're spewing or they're just sellouts? They're just sellouts. Some of them believe it, but Rachel Maddow definitely doesn't believe it. I don't think she's that loony. I think she's doing this because she makes 30-something thousand a show. I don't even watch her anymore. It's too scary. It's like Rachel Maddow reminds me of Glenn Beck when he was on Fox News, you know, with the red phone. Very, very unhinged. And he won Pennsylvania by 44,292 people. So we're to believe we are to be believed. We're to believe that 77,744 Americans, or even half that, let's say it was half of 77,000, half of these people didn't vote for Hillary Clinton because they were swayed by things they saw on social media. Number one, there's no actual way to prove that, but we can do things to disprove it. I just did. So I hope, Jen, do you mind putting the links in the live chat to those exit polls? So if you want to bring facts to an argument with your neoliberal friends about this, show them the exit polls from Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. Show them why these Trump voters voted for him. But this is why Trump won those states. It's not because of Russia. And at this point, this kind of talk, I'm not just doing this topic to get clicks. I'm doing it because it's dangerous. When you start pumping into the media and system, when you start pumping into the system this propaganda, that essentially what it does is it tries to serve as an excuse for why someone like Donald Trump is president. Because they don't want to actually look at the real reason Donald Trump is president. It's not because Donald Trump is something special at all. It's because Donald Trump was very, very intuitive to see that the majority of people in this region in America, and frankly, the majority of people in the country overall, not just in the Rust Belt, are living paycheck to paycheck. There has been a grand heist bank robbery since the late 1970s in this country. And our wealth, because we create the wealth, it is the middle class and now the working poor that actually create the wealth of this country. We are the ones that are the producers. That productivity chart is not from the yacht owners. It's from the workers. So we create the wealth. And our productivity, our production, the fruits of our labor has been stolen by rich people, but more importantly, the servants of those rich people, the United States government. Because the U.S. government works for the rich people and the donors, not us. That's right. That's why it's so dangerous when you start seeing these pushing people like Beto O'Rourke. Because the most dangerous people are not Donald Trump. He's dangerous in several ways. But the most dangerous people are not the kinds that sound so awful and sound so, like a shock to the system. The most dangerous ones are the ones that sound lovely and sound just like us and sound progressive, but are twisting a knife while they're doing that, are putting a knife in you while they do that, like Obama. And frankly, I think Beto, based on his record. So I don't know what we're going to see next. First, there was this stupid New York Times story. Then Hillary Clinton's campaign has been pumping this nonsense out. And I guarantee you, the media is going to, if Bernie runs, it's going to be one of the first questions they ask him. You know, what do you have to say for the fact that Russia influenced your voters? No data. Nothing to back it up. Pure propaganda. And you know what Bernie Sanders better say? Russia didn't cause half of this country to be in poverty. Russia did not cause the top 1% to own 90% of the wealth in this country. Russia didn't cause this planet to be burning. Russia hasn't built the frack gas pipelines in this country. Russia hasn't contaminated our water. So you could try and deflect and distract and create a boogeyman. Russia didn't do any of that. We've done that. More importantly, the oligarchs have done that. And he better come with data, because he's going to need it. Because really, what Anderson Cooper and Jake Tapper and Chris Cuomo and Morning Joe and Rachel Maddow and the New York Times, all of these people are, frankly, there's a range. Some of them are useful idiots for the government who have no cynicism, who don't do any research. And some of them are just pure propagandists. And some of them are both. Jen and I always talk about it is astounding. It is astounding how much money these people make to be so stupid and corrupt. Here, actual journalists like Jen and I and Ty are scraping with our claws. Scraping with our claws. GoFundMe status quo. To raise money. And we're telling the truth. We give you facts. And these people make endless money. And I don't really care. I mean, I don't really do this to become rich. If I want to become rich, this isn't the business for that. But it's just unbelievable. $5, Michael Williams. Thank you. Not all Trump voters are racist, but if you're a racist, you're probably a Trump supporter. That I could agree with. But you know, Michael, what's interesting about that? And I have a nuanced view. Because there's two types of racists. There's racists that speak racistly and have racist thought in their mind. And then there's racists who push through racist policy, right? So Bill Clinton signed the crime bill. I think that's pretty racist. So you wouldn't look at Bill Clinton. He doesn't talk like a racist. He doesn't say things that are racist, but his actions were pretty racist. The Democratic Party has done a lot of things economically and policy-wise that have crushed African Americans. So they might not be talking about build a wall or let's ban Muslims or calling people super predators, but, actions speak louder than words to me. Words are hurtful, but you also have to look at people's actions. Jay Ramashi says it's not astounding when you think about it because they're making all the money specifically to push the corrupt propaganda. I agree. Obama said, we'll let it play out. Yep. As Native Americans were getting shot and tear gassed. So, folks, I will stay on it. I'll stay on all these things because somebody has to fight for common sense and a little sanity in this growingly insane and corrupt and propagandized world. And as a reminder, if you've been late, this Sunday, Jimmy Dore joins me. Noon Eastern. Super Duper Chat / GoFundMe Marathon. Bring your holiday cheer. I'm still looking for my Hanukkah Harry costume. It's gonna be super duper. Jordan, what do you know about Wesley Clark Jr. and Jimmy Dore beef? I know nothing. I don't know anything about Wesley Clark. Thank you, Jordan and gang. My pleasure. Obama said, let's move forward when talking about prosecuting Bush administration. Oh, yes. He let war criminals. Oh, and by the way, let me find this tweet because I couldn't believe this either. I mean, literally, you got Joe Biden handing out Liberty Awards to George W. Bush. Joe Biden's handing out a Liberty Award to George W. Bush. And now you have Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama reflects on the beauty of George Bush. This is not The Onion. This is a story from the Hill. Michelle Obama reflects on the beauty of George W. Bush. I mean, oh my God. I guess history just doesn't matter anymore. I guess history just doesn't effing matter. War criminal, hundreds of thousands of people dead. tore the global economy to pieces. Historic, massive, epic tax cuts for yacht owners. But Michelle Obama, she sees the beauty. Because when they go low, let's praise war criminals. When they go low, let's praise war criminals. What else could you say? That's what she's doing. Just terrible. So I'll be back tomorrow. I have some thoughts on Chuck Schumer that I want to get off my chest tomorrow. And we'll see. We'll see if Trump follows through on this Syria thing. If he does, it would be a damn good thing, and we should all give him credit. I don't support him in general. I hope he loses re-election. But if he removes U.S. troops from another senseless war, then you got to give it up for the guy. Period. And remember, folks, even if you can't donate, tell your friends, spread this GoFundMe. We'll give you the link. Spread this GoFundMe far and wide. We're raising as much money as humanly possible so we can get back in the field and stay in the field for the foreseeable future. So that starts with, we need the seed money. We'd rather ask our audience, we'd rather beg our audience if we have to, than try to get meetings with special interest douchebags and take meetings with corporate interests. We're not going to do that, period. I'd rather not do journalism than have to get into business with those kinds of people. And I'm not interested in getting into business with those kind of people. And that's why we're asking you. So even there's no amount that's too low, and there's certainly no amount that's too high. So even if it's $1, even if it's $5, every single dollar really, really counts. So thank you for watching. Be back 5 o'clock Eastern, like every single day. 5 Eastern time, Monday through Friday. Remember, share these videos. And as always, most people are not lacking compassion. Most people have no effing clue what the hell is going on in this country. Peace out.